Observation as a tool for data collection. The purpose of observation as a data collection tool is to gather data on classroom-based programs, practices, or strategies, such as instructional methods, pacing, fidelity of implementation of a specific program or strategy, or even classroom discipline. Observers must keep in mind that the evaluation is about the program, not about an individual's performance. Observations can provide valuable insight into how teachers are implementing the programs and strategies, and how the learners are meeting the program goals. Through observation, investigators may discover ways a program needs to be modified, or find that specific approaches that have occurred naturally in classrooms run by innovative teachers can lead to professional development opportunities that expand the implementation of best practices across an entire school or even a district. Observations can be either direct, with an observer or observers physically present in the educational setting, or indirect. For example, lessons can be videoed and watched later. There are some things to consider when conducting observations in an educational setting. Step 1, determine the focus. For example, observations may be conducted to observe interactions between students and teachers as a means of evaluating the effect of a teacher's knowledge, skills, and behaviors on students. Step 2, design a system for data collection. Recording sheets and checklists are one system of data collection. These tools can help to gather quantitative data and can make preset questions and responses available for observers. Observation guides, lists of interactions, processes, or behaviors can provide open-ended narrative data. Field notes are the least standardized system for gathering information during an observation because there are no preset questions. Step 3, determine the number of observations. There should be an adequate number of observations to ensure a representation of the larger population and to provide understanding of the situation being observed. Step 4, determine the number of observers, followed by Step 5, train the observers. This step is critical because it ensures inter-rated reliability. Finally, Step 6, time observations appropriately. In order to gather useful information, it is important to plan an observation for a time when the behavior to be observed will be occurring. Strengths of using observation as a data collection tool include allowing a team to view a program as it is actually occurring, allowing for a gathering of information specific to fidelity of implementation, potentially increasing staff buy-in to the evaluation of programs and practices, allowing a team to observe student response and behavior, and the opportunity to gather data to support theories that will make a positive impact on classroom practices. In addition, observation requires little input from the individuals being observed, so it has a limited impact on them. It provides context for other data gathered in an evaluation, and observation gives evaluators a framework for constructive, focused feedback. Some drawbacks of using observation as a data collection tool include a critical need for training and practice for observers, as well as a well-designed rubric to ensure inter-rated reliability, and this could have a financial impact. A lack of observer training or experience, or observation tools that aren't tightly focused on the program being evaluated, which may result in observations with limited usefulness. The presence of an observer or group of observers may inadvertently cause people being observed to change their behavior as a result of being watched, or observations may be seen as intrusive by staff, especially if trust is an issue. In addition, there is potential for observer bias, especially if the observational tool uses open-ended narrative response items and the data generated is generally difficult to quantify. How are observations used by scholars? In an article entitled Participant Observation as a Data Collection Method, Barbara B. Kowulich identified several ways observations can be used by scholars. These include observing for nonverbal expression of feelings, determining who interacts with whom, gaining information about how participants communicate with each other, checking for how much time is spent on various activities or checking definitions of terms that participants use in interviews, observing events that informants may be unable or unwilling to share when doing so would be impolitic, impolite, or insensitive, observing situations informants have described in interviews in order to make them aware of distortions or inaccuracies in descriptions they have been provided, and helping to answer descriptive research questions, build on theories, or to generate or test hypotheses. Observation was used as a tool at my site in the spring of 2015. 2 classrooms were chosen as model math classrooms, and the 2 teachers worked with resource teachers from the district to develop math lessons incorporating speaking and listening strategies. These teachers were then observed by administration from several school sites, an assistant superintendent, and the resource teachers. Observation was the best approach for this work because the purpose was to determine how teachers were implementing the strategies that they had been trained on and to determine whether the program goals were being met. This approach served the purpose of the model classrooms better than focus groups or interviews because of the real-time data that was gathered, and better than a review of student work after the lesson was completed because field notes that were gathered could later be used by the observers and the teachers being observed to debrief the lessons and discuss the effectiveness of the work. In summary, the purpose of observation as a data collection tool is to gather data on classroom-based programs, practices, or strategies such as instructional methods, pacing, fidelity of implementation, or classroom discipline. There is a need for focus when conducting observations, a system for data collection, determination of the number of observations and the number of observers needed, training for observers, and thoughtful timing. Strengths include information on fidelity of implementation, increased staff buy-in, insight into the effectiveness of an educational program, practice, or strategy, context for other data gathered in the evaluation, and a framework for constructive, focused feedback to help teachers. Drawbacks include time and funding for training and practice. Observations may be seen as intrusive by staff. Data is difficult to quantify, and some being observed may alter their behavior as a result of being watched, as well as the potential for observer bias. Ultimately, researchers use observation as a data tool to help answer descriptive research questions, build on a theory, or to generate or test hypotheses.